Good day to you, Guyana, and welcome to this week's edition of Facing the Nation. I am Malika Ramsey. Thank you very much for joining us. First off, even though there was Facing the Nation last week, it was aired. Let me apologize for my absence. So, in my absence, what happened? Facing the Nation focused on last week's post-cabinet press briefing with the Minister of State, the Honorable Joseph Harmon. I was not here, of course, because some of you may know by now, apart from doing this program in my daily job, I'm also a student at the University of Guyana, and of course these things do happen when it gets to exam season. So where we were last week, we were at midterm exam seasons, and this week and going on to the end of the year, we're going to be in final exam season. So I had an exam last week. That's the reason I was not here. But of course, we will never forsake our viewers. You still had Facing the Nation, and I trust that it was very informative. As you know, the post-cabinet press briefings are designed to keep not only the media, but the public updated on what would have been discussed. Of course, matters that can be made public, because at the level of the government, the level of the cabinet, there are some matters that may not be allowed to, or it would not be appropriate to put it in the public domain. And in some cases, it's for the security and safety, not only of the government, but security and safety of the country. So matters that can be made public are done every week during the post-cabinet press briefing. So you had that one last week that was hosted normally by the Minister of State, Joseph Harmon. And continuing on the same vein of post-cabinet press briefings, today's program is designed, the second half of our program is also designed to focus on that. However, this week's post-cabinet press briefing, which was held yesterday, 17th of November 2016, it was held as usual at the Ministry of the Presidency. This week, however, it was hosted by the Minister of Natural Resources, the Honorable Raphael Trotman. But you'll hear about that in the second half of the program. Today, however, apart from focusing on that, I always like to talk about the importance of our local artists, whether they're residing here or they're residing overseas. Of course, this is a bit of a soft topic, and you're going to get some of that now because we're past the halfway mark of November. So what I know is happening now, people are already beginning to go into holiday mood and holiday season. Guyanese, we make a very extremely big production out of Christmas, and it is our right, especially the Christians, not only Christians but everyone, but Guyanese, we generally embrace Christmas. It's a time that makes us happy, keeps us happy, and so we start to play Christmas music in October, and I was hearing some Christmas carols in October, so you can imagine what's happening on the airwaves now. So the program is going to get a little lighter for the rest of the year, try to deal with less heavy stuff, maybe with the exception of the budget, which is expected to be read in another week or so. But we're going to try to bring you light topics and light programs just to put you in a little relaxed mood and a relaxed season, to prepare you for the season. I always like to take the time to remind people as we come close to the Christmas season that, remember, we're living in an era where we have forgotten the initial meaning of Christmas. It has become so commercialized. People, we just focus on buying things and buying all the fancy things, the toys, the food, but we tend to forget why really we celebrate Christmas. It's basically what we do is celebrate the birth of Christ. I know there are some people who will argue that, okay, he wasn't born in December, he was born. But that is not my intention on this program, at least not today, to have that discussion. But I'm basically letting you know that from now on, going down to the rest of the year, we'll try to keep some of the topics as light as we possibly can. Once nothing of urgency or emergency pops up, we'll try to keep things as light as we possibly can right down to the rest of the year. In saying that, too, also just as everyone needs a break, I will come back to the local artist in a minute or two, but I'm just letting you know what's happening on Facing the Nation for the rest of the year. But just as any other person needs a break, Facing the Nation also needs a break. So working with a schedule that we have currently, Facing the Nation will have its final program for the year on the 16th of December, but will be back on the 13th of January 2017. But as we go along, I will remind you of those dates. We'll take about 3 weeks and then come back. If you want, you can call it a season break. But now on to what I was talking about a little earlier. That's our local artiste. This young man came on the scene maybe about 11 or 12 years ago. He's no stranger to Guyana. He's currently still in Guyana, preparing to leave. But he goes by the name of Eddie Neblett. We all know him as Eddie Neblett. Some of you can remember the song Wrong Decision, Love and Unity. That became our anthem for a very long time. People still go, that is still the go-to song when we want to talk about or when we want to focus on national unity. So Eddie Neblett has done a lot for Guyana. We like to use the term putting Guyana on the map. I don't necessarily like it because my country is already on the map. What we're doing, however, is showcasing our talent and letting the world know that not because we're a third world country means that we're, in a sense, left behind. No, when it comes to our talent, we're right there. We're even, in some cases, we're even better than those international artists. Yes, and I dare go as far as to say that. The problem with us, however, is that we do not have the opportunities, the exposure and even the equipment that they use to prepare themselves that really and truly push them into becoming these really big international artists. Because the fact is, if you take away the opportunities and you take away the equipment that they use and the mentors that they have, they're on the same level as our artists. That is the fact. Those are the facts. So people like Eddie Neblett, really and truly, what he's doing is telling the world that, look, Guyana is a third world country. We might be, well, I shouldn't say third world. I mean, it means the same thing, but you know, it's more politically correct to say a developing country. Even though we are a developing country, we have talented people and people who are doing things. And in the last decade, Eddie Neblett has certainly proven that. He has shown the world what Guyana can do, especially in the U.S. where he is based. As I did say to you, he's currently in Guyana. He's on tour. He would have hosted and attended several concerts in the last week or so, the last 2 weeks as we speak. I think he's in Linden performing, but he will leave Guyana soon. It was really my pleasure to have a sit-down conversation with him earlier this week. Of course, as you know, Facing the Nation is on Friday, so I had to use the opportunity early in the week to have a discussion with him. So the first part of the program today is going to focus on that conversation I had with Eddie Neblett, and it's really interesting. We spoke about where he was and where he is now and where he plans to go and how he plans to take Guyana along with him. Take a look at this interview, this conversation, and I'll come back with you in a few minutes. This is Facing the Nation. Phones on silent. Viewers, welcome to this. It's a bit different, a different special edition of a part of Facing the Nation. Of course, most of you know by now that Facing the Nation is aired live on Fridays. So because I really needed to accommodate this young gentleman in this program, we had to do a pre-recorded session. So this is basically a special interview with Guyanese superstar. I'm calling him superstar. He has earned it. He has worked hard for it. Eddie Neblett. It really is a pleasure to have you on Facing the Nation. Welcome, Eddie.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, great. It is interesting. The first and the last time we spoke prior to that would have been more than a decade ago.
Yes.
When you first came out with Wrong Decision. I must take this opportunity to also welcome you back home. It's good to see you in Guyana and still living up to everything that you told me back then. I don't even think I can remember half of the interview, but viewers, what I can say to you that this was a young man who was very passionate about his music and about staying the course and doing positive things and representing Guyana in a very positive light, and you have lived up to that. So congratulations, Eddie.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, let's talk about, first off, your current trip. Why are you in Guyana? Not that we are not happy to have you, but what's happening now?
Well, you know, we are here for 3 major concerts basically, and they're both promoting their, you know, live speaking of, you know, it's based on the issue that we're dealing with the suicide and stuff like that. And so
Okay.
this is basically a suicide prevention tour that we are on, promoting life and encouraging people and stuff like that. So, when they told us about it, we were so happy to be on this trip, being our first trip back to, of course, me, we always like to promote positiveness. So, we see this as very positive. We see it as relevant and important and necessary. So, we had to make this trip.
Okay, great. Do you feel satisfied that you have gotten the support since you've been here thus far, not only in terms of the music, but in terms of pushing a positive message, especially when it comes to the fight against suicide?
Oh, definitely. My Guyanese people are very welcoming. They've been very supportive from the time we got here. They show us the love, and they've been giving us the opportunity to like you are giving us right now, to go in the media and to see that we, of course, love the fact that we're back home, and that we're here to promote life and to promote hope, and just basically that's the theme, really, to promote hope.
Have you found that really and truly suicide is alarming for Guyana? And this is, of course, viewers, this is before we get into some of what he has been doing over the years since he's left Guyana. Do you believe that it really is a challenge and it really is alarming?
Yes, it is. It is. It's not that we never had suicide before, but the rate, when I heard of the rate that we have, that was the alarming thing to me. And, it was also a heartfelt situation. As a matter of fact, I remember being in church when I first got the news. I was sitting in church and somebody told me, right now, it's crazy what is happening in Guyana. So I was, of course, it was an interesting statement. So I said, what's happening? They said, well, I heard that we are one of the leading, as it relates to suicide, we are not where we wanted to be, not where we're supposed to be or where we would like to be. The suicide rate is very high, and I began to ask myself, what is it so different back then to now that that is causing this? Because I know we are a strong people. We are always able to fight and overcome. We've gone through a lot, and as Guyanese, I know that we've come far. So what is different now that is causing this? And those are the questions I've been asking. So it was very alarming, very, very alarming.
Well, we trust that as we go by, we will get those answers. Of course, Eddie's not here. Sometimes my conversations with my guests get a bit controversial, but Eddie's not here to do that. We're going to focus on him, what he is contributing, and how he has transformed in terms of his music career. Let's talk about your life and your career. It's been years since you've left here. Some people wanted to cry because it's like, come on, one of our best artists is leaving. How have you been able to transform musically from Guyana to the US? And I know you've been doing a lot of traveling and a lot of performing and so on. How have you been able to make it work and stay the course?
Well, one of the things I told people that, the US is a very big place. Of course, I'm like a needle in a haystack, and especially if I try to go and fit in or try to, become like them, that wouldn't have made any sense, because I realize a lot of people, not only from Guyana, but other Caribbean nations go out there and they try to be like them and sing like them, and then they just get lost in the pack. But I tell people, one of the things I did was basically stay true to my style and my way of how we perform and how we minister, and they accepted it, they loved it. I basically told them we bring Guyana to them. We didn't change anything. We didn't change our accent. We didn't change our style of singing. The transition, it took a while, because to tell you the truth, we have done a lot of groundwork going over there. I remember there's this kind of thing in New York that we call block party during the summer, where they close off a block and they would have, like people celebrating and having fun and just relaxing and stuff like that. The community.
Yes.
And we used to go out there, when we just got up there, we used to go out there and ask them, because they would have these music system and stuff like that. And we would go to them and say, man, we have an artist, my friend would be with me. He said, we have an artist here and he would like to do 2 songs and stuff like that, just as a way of marketing ourselves. And they say, well, you know what, we love that, because they don't have any entertainment, so of course they wouldn't say no. They give us the opportunity, and they were blown away, and it was like, really? And we start sharing out cards, and people start buying the CDs that we have, and eventually the name got around. So by a year after, people was actually booking us for shows, and the word just began to get around, and it's a lot of groundwork. So the transition, it was a process, but it paid off, and we are doing so well.
I'm happy that it paid off. We always talk about in Guyana, and this is not only with you, even before you and after you, we always talk about the fact that we have these young artists, and we want to give them an opportunity to, quote unquote, put Guyana on the map. Do you feel that since what you told me about the block party experience and so on, do you believe that since then you have been able to, in a sense, push Guyana a little more out there, especially when it comes to actual gospel music and a gospel artist?
I wouldn't say I push Guyana. I would say that I push the fact that I'm a Guyanese artist. I'm not sure how, for me to actually make that statement, that's a pretty bold statement that I'm not sure if it's true. Right.
Okay.
So that would be up to them to say that. But, we've done a lot and we've represented well. Everywhere we go, everyone know that we're Guyanese. And we do what we do, and they loved it and they supported us, and it's amazing. And the level that we are right now, we get the support from international artists, and stuff like that. So
I was about to ask if you've gotten the opportunity to work with international gospel artists and probably evangelists too, whether in a big way or a small way, however persons may want to describe it. Have you been able to get that opportunity, that reaches yet?
Oh, definitely, we have. In terms of not recordings, but working with them in terms of shows and different projects that they are working on. We've gotten the opportunity to meet, and as a matter of fact, we are at a stage where now they call us.
Oh,
and
great.
They invite us to come and at their events and stuff like that. And it's been amazing, man. It's just great.
Music aside, it was a challenging. Guyanese youth growing up in Guyana, you were born here, you grew up here. Was it challenging and again, this is music aside, was it challenging for you to transform into that life? Because I know when you went with, and viewers, this is a young man who is a great example. And in our society now, I like to push great examples, especially when it comes to our young men, because so many negative things are happening with them. So when we see these things, this is what we like to promote, and in a sense, for want of a better word, for want of a better term, show off. This is a young man who is married with children. How difficult or how easy was it for you to, because the fact is it's a different life. Was it difficult or easy for you to transform into family life and stay the course of family life?
Yes. Like we all know, that life is not easy, and especially when you want to go a certain route and you want to choose to walk the right way and do the right things. It's always harder to do things the right way. But it was tough. Moving over there with my family. First, we had to get settled in, and moving into a different environment. Everything changes, so we start from scratch. I literally mean from scratch. We had nothing. We didn't have a house. We didn't have a car. The place we were staying wasn't ours, and so we literally struggled at the beginning of the. And I tell people this all the time. They get the idea that America is a bed of roses. That's not true. Believe me, it's not. You go there and you have to work or even harder. Like some people work 2 jobs just able to have enough to pay rent and to take care of themselves. So it's not easy. But one of the things my ministry has been a tremendous blessing for me. To us as a family actually. So it's that has been taking care of us from day one. So grooving in, it takes a process, just like the music. Getting used to the environment, getting used to being in that kind of weather. So it's a whole lot of stuff. It wasn't easy, but we enjoyed. Many times I can tell you, many times we wanted to come back. I told my wife, I say, is this even worth it? I mean, we were good back home. We had good jobs. We had good, but then sometimes things don't always seem right at the beginning. But as long as you endure and you stay strong and you hold on, it always changes.
Eddie, I love the fact that you're being so real about this, and sitting here, it's like deja vu for me. It's reminding me of the first time I really did have a conversation. That's more than a decade ago. Coming back home a bit, you, in the few days that you've been here thus far, I know for a fact you've been exposed to local talent and local
Yes.
artists. What is your opinion on what's happening with us in musically, with the few artists that you would have been able to work with in the last few days?
Oh, it's well, one of the things I can say is that these guys have evolved, talents, and not just singers but musicians. It's been amazing. You know, I see now the talent that we have, and I'm saying, you know, we need to. There has to be an avenue where we can give them, you know, more push. But they've evolved. They're doing so great right now. The singers are out of this world. I'm telling you, they can. I can personally say that they can go anywhere and able to represent because of how much they've nurtured their talents and the level that they are right now. Of course, there is a lot more to learn. There is a lot more to go. A lot more distance to cover. A lot more things to learn. But one of the things I would definitely like to tell them is humility is important. You know, in this life, it pays to be humble, and anyone, regardless whether you're Christian, you're Hindu, you're Muslim, whatever background, whatever ethnic background group you're from, everyone recognizes when you are not humble.
Yes.
You know, people from all walks of life, they would tell me, one of the things I like about you, I mean, you don't represent what I represent in terms of my religion, but you know, I like your humility. You know, and I think that's one of the main things that has got me this far. And I keep telling them, I said, you know, your talent will take you very far, but humility will keep you there. Because the same speed you rise with, you can fall. And I've seen that happen many times. You know, but I think they definitely got the quality. I think they just got to keep working and pushing themselves, and, you know, things will happen.
Perfect. Well said. Before viewers, of course, again, he's running. He's from one activity to the next, so I'm not going to keep him much longer. What can Guyana look forward to from our very own Eddie Neblett in the near future, even in the far future? What are your plans?
Well, definitely, this is a season of tour for us. So everything else is put on pause. We've started recording our next album. So we had to put it on pause because just as we go back to New York, we're going to be heading out back again to Canada and to the UK and Trinidad and stuff like that. So when this season is finished, we will be back in and we'll be working on more music. But definitely you can expect me to represent you well. I'm always an ambassador of this country, and I support you guys 100%. And everywhere I go, it's not just the kingdom I'm representing, but Guyanese all across the world, and I want to make sure that I maintain that level of respect for you and for myself, and so I'll continue to push and work hard and bring you guys good music and you know, promote out there and do what I do.
Perfect. So we can definitely look forward to the music from Eddie Neblett. Keep
Definitely.
coming. All right. Thank you so very much, Eddie. It has been a pleasure. Again, on behalf of all Guyanese, I'd like to say congratulations. We are very, very proud of you, and we know that you will continue to do us proud.
Thank you so much.
Keep going. Keep stretching.
Thank you very much. I will.
All right, viewers, again, this was a special part of Facing the Nation for this week, of course, where I sat down with none other than Guyanese superstar, Guyanese gospel artist, Edward Neblett, or you all know him as Eddie Neblett. Of course, this is Facing the Nation. Stay tuned. Great conversation there with Eddie Neblett earlier in the week, and I must say that I enjoyed watching that again, and you know, listening to him again, his journey thus far. It's you know, it's unfortunate that I couldn't get to get a longer conversation with him, but of course he will be back and he will continue to expose our talent, expose and let the world know what, you know, we really are made of in this very beautiful South American country. Of course, we're part of the Caribbean because we're part of CARICOM, but you know, the fact is, physically we are located in South America, and it's always interesting to have conversations with people like that who, and you know, one of the things that he did talk about that you know, really touched me is the fact that he has remained humble throughout this, and he understands the importance of remaining humble if he wants to continue to be successful. But don't get the lines crossed. Being humble is not the same as allowing persons to take advantage of you. You, especially in that world that he's functioning in, there are people who are going to be unscrupulous. So I always warn people when we tell each other to, you know, try to remain humble. That is good, But at the same time, you have to find a balance, and always remember that remaining humble does not mean allowing people to take advantage of you. Find a balance. Be humble, stern, professional, but at the same time, keep it calm. For those of you now joining, you missed that conversation there, but as always, you can catch that conversation a little later, if not later on today, tomorrow, on my YouTube channel. That's for those of you who follow me on social media, and you can also catch the conversation on Facebook. It's almost time for the second half of the program, where I'll bring to you this week's government's post-cabinet press briefing. But before I do that, just a few other housekeeping matters. Remember, it is National Road Safety Month. We're currently in National Road Safety Month. Still urging you, and it's interesting, you're seeing, and sometimes I wonder if Guyanese have gone into a phase where they're no longer listening to news. We don't watch local television anymore. Don't we read the newspapers? I mean, some of you are on the internet 24/7, and you're seeing what's happening on the roads, and you're still not taking heed. Unfortunately, another life was lost. Is it last weekend? And that happened on that long stretch of road there. Some of us know it as Harmony Highway. I think some of the newspapers reported it as Schoonard. But regardless of where it happened, I don't understand. It's as if we don't have value for our lives anymore. Because unfortunately, the young man who died, at least the one who died initially, God rest his soul, and unfortunately he's gone and left children. The police report has indicated that bottles of empty Guinness bottles were found at the scene. And of course, they came out of the car on impact of the accident. And I'm still urging you, especially the persons who are now being exposed to driver's ed and now attempting to go get your license. And I know there are drivers who are a very bad example on you. And I hear these things, and only a few days ago I would have been discussing it with some of my colleagues. You actually hear people say, once I got a Guinness or two in my head, I see the road clearer. Come on, that is... I can't explain what that is, and I wouldn't say what that is on national television, on live television, but that is it to use a mild word right now, that is ridiculous, and you need to stop. And just looking at the photograph after the accident with him lying there, it will always touch me. Is this what human life is eventually reduced to? These are things that we can avoid. You continue to speed and you continue to drink and drive. And the Christmas, that's the wonderful, it's one wonderful thing about Christmas season. We all get to relax, and we get to eat, to indulge in all the foods that we don't usually indulge in throughout the year. But then again, with it comes the bad, where you're going to have somebody who's going to senselessly consume alcohol to the point of falling down, and you are going to get behind the wheel of a car or a vehicle, whatever, and you're going to drive. And if by the grace of God you meet where you're going safely, then you say, I see the road clear when I have 2 Guinnesses, or whatever it is that you drink, whatever it is that you consume. You say you have, because you had that in your head, you saw the road clear. That is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I like alcohol as much as the next person. I'm not an abuser of alcohol. But then even with one drink, don't get behind the wheel of a vehicle. Just don't do it. Stop doing it, because you are not only killing yourselves, you're taking innocent lives along with you. And it's very expensive. It's expensive to you, your families, and it's expensive to the state that really is trying to bring, those sort of, because that's a crime under control. And on the note of crime, that leads me to the other crime, where we have criminals, broad daylight, in traffic, shot the windscreen of a vehicle off, and whether the windscreen or the window screen, and took the bag of money out of the vehicle, and then just rode off as pretty as you please. The Guyana Police Force, I know you keep putting the statistics out there, and you keep saying that there actually has been a reduction. we understand that you have your work to do and you're doing your work, and this may be the statistics that you are working with, but at this point I am saying, even though I don't have those statistics that you're working with, you have to understand that the ordinary man in the street, they're seeing constant reports of it. So it's looking to the ordinary citizen as though there is no reduction, and it's also driving fear into the ordinary citizens, especially people who have business to go and transact. You go to the bank, for whatever reason you're drawing off large sums of money. People are living in fear. And again, Guyana Police Force, I am not saying that your figures are wrong, that there isn't a reduction, but I am telling you based on what I am seeing daily and what the ordinary man and woman in the street is seeing daily. These are the reports that we get. Every so often somebody posts something on social media. There's been a robbery here, a pickpocket, whatever. At the end of the day, it is driving fear into citizens. A lot of us are fearful because you don't know. It seems as though the criminals, they're so bold and brave. They know no boundaries, and apparently they're not afraid of our police officers anymore. So Guyana Police Force, I am not saying that you're not doing anything, but what I'm saying, you need to do more and you need to get it together. Find a way to solve our crime situation. And I'm going to leave that there for now. For those of you who are now joining, there's no guest on Facing the Nation today, of course, because for the first half, I focused on that conversation with gospel super sensation Eddie Neblett. On the second half now, what I'm going to do, and this is just to keep you updated with the fact that government is doing its work. Yesterday, the Honorable Minister Raffle Trotman, he's the Minister of Natural Resources, he hosted the government's post-cabinet press briefing. Of course, he filled in for Minister of State Joseph Harmon, the Honorable Joseph Harmon, who is currently out of the jurisdiction, of course, on government business. He's expected to return in the new week. So in standing in for Minister Harmon, Minister Trotman hosted the cabinet press briefing yesterday at Ministry of the Presidency. And of course, it would have been based on matters that were raised at the last cabinet sitting, which would have been on Tuesday of this week. So, of course, this is for the purpose of giving you information. So take a look at this press conference. Of course, by the time we get back, it may be time to begin to wrap up today's program. But of course, this is Facing the Nation.
It's a pleasure to be here. Welcome. This morning I will give the brief on behalf of Minister of State, Minister Harmon, who is unable to be here this morning. So we cover this morning 15 topics, and I'll go through them without any delay. The Honorable Minister of Public Security presented a report to Cabinet on crime and security statistics, as well as plans going into the end of the year, and particularly at the Christmas time. The Honourable Minister in his report highlighted the situation by way of statistics about the number of and types of crime that were committed for the reporting period, which would have been over the past week. Among the highlights were that there was no incident of piracy during the reporting period. This was attributed to ongoing collaboration between the Guyana Police Force, the Guyana Defence Force, and their Surinamese counterparts. The Honourable Minister of Public Security then briefed Cabinet on the planned security measures that would be implemented during the upcoming holiday season. Cabinet was also briefed on plans which the Guyana Police Force would implement in its efforts to combat crime generally. Cabinet expressed its continued concern about the high incidence of criminal activity across the country and urged the Honourable Minister to intensify efforts to address the issue. Cabinet also approved a recommendation that the Ministry of Public Telecommunications enter into an agreement with Huawei Technologies Company Limited of China to perform a comprehensive needs assessment in order to develop the scope for the establishment of a nationwide broadband network, or for the Smart Guyana project. The assessment will include the level of effort and financing required and the consideration of information systems applications for all levels of government. The agreement, however, does not preclude the government of Guyana from entering into similar arrangements with any other interested party. In January 2016, the 20th to be exact, Cabinet approved a board of directors for the Guyana Power and Light Incorporated. One such person appointed to the board was Mr. Leslie Romalo, who was appointed. He has since asked to be relieved given his challenges and responsibilities as managing director of his company, which covers both Guyana and Suriname. As a result, Cabinet considered and gave its no objection to Mr. Kester da Costa becoming a member of the board and to replace Mr. Romalo, who Cabinet noted had conducted, of course, his efforts exemplary, and we thanked him. Cabinet has also approved the appointment of a board of directors of the Commission, the National Commission for the Elderly. These members will include Ms. Everett Audrey de Leon as chair, Mr. Stanley Chase, Ms. Alima Nazir, Mrs. Wendell Roberts, Mrs. Negla Brandis, Ms. Joan Bavigans, Ms. Roxanne Prescott, Dr. Melissa DeHart of the Ministry of Health, and a representative to be named from the parliamentary opposition. The National Commission of the Elderly is concerned with improving the quality of life of our elderly citizens and to provide them with a sense of security and belonging with feelings of health and worthiness. Specifically, the Commission advises the government on policies for the elderly and coordinates and monitors programs and services for them. Cabinet also approved the appointment of His Excellency Mario Estuardo Torres Townsend as non-resident ambassador of Guatemala to Guyana. Ambassador Townsend will replace His Excellency Giovanni Rene Castillo Polanco and will be based in Trinidad and Tobago. Diplomatic relations were established between Guatemala and Guyana on May 1st, 1992. Cabinet as well approved the attendance of the Vice President and Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs at meetings which are upcoming with the incoming Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Antonio Gutierrez, on November 18th and 19th. So Minister of Foreign Affairs will lead a delegation to those meetings, which are going to be held, in fact, next week. It will be recalled that the government of Guyana had approached the Secretary General of the United Nations to act in accordance with his obligations under the Geneva Agreement to choose another means of settlement of the border controversy between Venezuela and Guyana in accordance with Article 33 of the United Nations Charter. The Secretary General had agreed to recommend a way forward for the final resolution of the controversy before he demits office in November 2016. The meetings between the Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs and the incoming Secretary General would be part of the process to secure that recommendation. The Director General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs would accompany the Honourable Minister to the meetings. Cabinet as well agreed to the attendance of the Minister of Public Telecommunications at the 4th meeting of Ministers of E-Government of Latin America and the Caribbean to be held in Santiago, Chile from December 1st to 2nd of this year. This meeting will be hosted by the Inter-American Development Bank in collaboration with the Organization of American States and the government of Chile. The meeting will bring together Latin American and Caribbean leaders in the ICT sector to develop frameworks to promote successful information communications technology policies for the implementation of digital programs in government work. Participation in this meeting will give Guyana the opportunity to build networks with countries of Latin America and the Caribbean and provide insights into the development of ICT in these countries. The Honourable Minister will be accompanied by Mr. Floyd Levi, head of the e-government unit of her ministry. Cabinet has agreed to the attendance of the Honourable Minister of Public Infrastructure at the 46th meeting of Energy Ministers of Latin American Energy Organization, known as OLADE, to be held in Quito, Ecuador on November 24th, 2016. The Honourable Minister will also participate in the Inter-American Development Bank's Regional Energy Policy Dialogue that is associated with the meeting. The IDB Regional Dialogue will focus on progress towards the goals of sustainable energy for all in Latin America and the Caribbean, and will discuss as well the challenges and support needed to achieve these goals. Cabinet has approved the participation in a consolidation of laws training program to be sponsored by the Improved Access to Justice in the Caribbean project. This training program will be held in Anguilla from November 17th to 18th, 2016. And the program will provide training in the following areas. Firstly, the consolidation process. Secondly, techniques employed in the consolidation cycle. Thirdly, document management at each stage of the consolidation cycle. Ms. Joanne Bond, Senior Parliamentary Counsel, and Ms. Ronetta Sargent, Parliamentary Counsel, will attend the training program. Guyana will, with Cabinet's approval, participate in the mid-year meeting of the Caribbean Regional Technical Assistance Center Steering Committee, CATAC, to be held in Barbados on November 21st, 2016. The meeting will give special attention to macroeconomic statistics, and Guyana's delegate, Ms. Sonia Rupnaut, Director of the Office of Budget of the Ministry of Finance, will make a presentation in this regard. Moving on, Cabinet has also approved the attendance at the 5th Regional Meeting on Partnerships between the public and private sectors for disaster reduction in Latin America and the Caribbean. The meeting is sponsored by the Latin American and Caribbean Economic System, CELA, and the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, and will be held in Santiago, Chile from November 27th to 30th, 2016. Attendance at this meeting will enable Guyana's National Disaster Risk Management Coordinating Agency and the Civil Defense Commission to be appraised of best practices for public-private partnerships and to help in the development of strategic relationships with public and private agencies. Ms. Alana Walters, Planning and Training Assistant of the Civil Defense Secretariat, will attend the meeting on behalf of Guyana. Guyana will also participate in the 3rd meeting of the Working Group of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, on the advancement of women, to be held in Santiago, Dominican Republic, from November 16 to 18, 2016. The main subject of the meeting will be food security and rural women. The gender strategy for the implementation of the Food and Nutrition Plan of CELAC will also be presented for approval. In this regard, Mr. Jason Shepard, Manager of the Gender Affairs Bureau of the Ministry of Social Protection, will attend the meeting. Cabinet also gave its agreement and objection to Guyana being represented at a meeting of senior technical personnel of the South American Council of Education of UNISAR to be held in Caracas, Venezuela from November 21st to 22nd, 2016. The meeting will evaluate and analyze the implementation of the 5-year work plan of the Council in order to advance the consolidation of educational integration in the region. In this regard, Ms. Jennifer Cumberbatch, Director of the National Center for Education Resource Development, NSERD, will attend the meeting and participate on behalf of the Government of Guyana. Approval was also given for a representative of the National Center for Education Resource Development, NSERD again, to attend the 8th Pan-Commonwealth Forum on Open Learning to be held in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia from November 27th to 30th, 2016. The Pan-Commonwealth Forum, which is held every 3 years, is one of the world's leading international conferences on education and technology-enabled learning. Its objective is to share insights and innovations on how technology can be harnessed to provide quality education. The forum, which will be hosted by the Commonwealth of Learning and the Open University of Malaysia, will be attended by Ms. Kim Spencer, Subject Specialist in Innovative Information and ICT at NSERD. And lastly, Cabinet granted its no objection to the award of a contract to rehabilitate the Guyana Police Force's band room at Ivleri, Georgetown. The contract is in the sum of $69,028,292 and was awarded to Builders Hardware and General Supplies. Thank you. Questions?
Yes, Minister. Adam Harris. Sir, there were previous studies for the e-government program dating back to, I think, 2010 or 2011. Where are the findings of these studies and how relative are they to the studies that would be conducted by Huawei?
Well, very relevant question. I know that the e-government unit has studies. I believe the studies concluded that what transpired or passed for a plan in the past was of no consequence, could not be used. So regrettably, but and you know, but in vain, we have no choice but to start, in a sense, all over. So Huawei Technologies has been identified, and we hope to have this done in the shortest possible time. Insofar as the question as to where the studies are, I will endeavor to ask my colleague minister to see if those could be shared with the public.
Quick follow-up. Where in this entire study is the old cable, the broken cable from Linden Latham Road? It's going to figure.
As I said, much of that past work has been deemed to have been now obsolete and incapable, some of it, of being resuscitated. Some of the equipment, towers, stations at different points with solar panels and so forth, I believe can be salvaged. But anyone who goes along the Babura Road and to the Latham Trail will see visible signs of decay and destruction of the cable. And fiber optic cable being what it is, it's not easy at all points in time to just bring two ends together. So I believe it has been concluded and has been reported by Minister of State in the past that that is a spent project, and parts of it can be salvaged, most parts cannot be.
Good morning, Minister.
Morning.
Just two quick things. Could you say where we are with regard to Baishan and the duty-free equipment and machinery that were seized, and the taxes outstanding to the Guyana Revenue Authority? And could you say, given the current lag in the forestry sector, what is the plan to make the industry more competitive?
Well, in answer to the question about Baishan Lin's equipment, seizures, taxes owed, I believe the GRA, the Ministry of Finance, could best answer those. I don't believe that any further action was taken after the last foray. Again, I will endeavor to speak to my colleague. We at the Ministry of Natural Resources deal with the licensing and permission granted to companies and individuals to engage in forest activity. As you know, we took the concessions back, but recovery of taxes owed and so forth would be with the GRA in particular, and I will endeavor to follow up. I don't believe that further action was taken. I believe that the GRA went after what was available, and one gets a sense that not much else was available. But that being as it may, I will find out some more. In terms of the lull, we have seen, as I reported in Parliament on the last occasion, about a 15% drop. And there is a subcommittee established by Cabinet that comprises Ministries of Social Protection, Natural Resources, Public Infrastructure, Communities, and Indigenous Peoples Affairs, who will be looking holistically at the future of forestry. Right now, His Excellency, as you know, is in Marrakesh, Morocco for the COP22 United Nations Climate Change Conference, where forestry looms large and the use of forests as a carbon sink to sequester carbon. And so there are many options that government has. Do we, for example, aggressively go back to giving out our forests for harvesting of logs? Do we do so in a less aggressive way and withhold some for carbon credit financing that we can raise? So these are options that are before Cabinet right now, and as I said, a subcommittee is in the process of examining the options and will report to Cabinet soon.
Just a quick follow-up. We have Yes, just a quick follow-up. We have the budget coming up in a matter of days. Could you say when is it the plan could be expected? Because the sector is going to receive some assistance. So is part of that assistance going to be geared towards the competitiveness drive? And could you say when
Well,
that plan is expected? Right of that?
let me say that the extractive industry sector does not depend as such for assistance from government. In fact, we are required to add assistance to other departments. So we believe that the idea is that forestry and the Guyana Forestry Commission must be competitive, that they must be able to be self-financing and not turn to government for bailout, so to speak. So we don't anticipate that grants, financial grants will be given. There, of course, as I said, has been a decline, not just because of events in Guyana, but because global commodity prices for lumber, particularly from Asia, have dropped. So the budget will reveal, hopefully, some incentives rather than assistance, but incentives to stimulate activity within the sector. These are, as you know, the usual set of concessions on taxes and fuel. So we can expect some of those, but I wouldn't wish to speak in advance of the Minister of Finance about what his package of goodies will contain.
Bakalam, Gino, could we get an update, sir, on the fate of the admin staff at the Wales estate? And second question is, could we have an update on the Cato School? We know some work was done there, or lack thereof. And also the High Street building in Kingston. And the High Street ministry, former ministry building, that is still in an abandoned state.
Well, Wales administration senior staff, I'm unable to report except to say that indeed, again, Cabinet did receive quite a sobering report from executives of the sugar industry 3 weeks ago, coming out of which, again, proposals were made. We were reminded of the dire state of the industry and its decline over a number of years. This didn't happen over the last 18 months, but in fact, the destruction began much earlier. So again, a subcommittee has been put together. I believe Minister of State has reported on that already. And so it would be premature for me to single out a particular estate to comment on the well-being or welfare of administrative staff at Wales, except to say that Wales, of course, like every other estate, is under consideration in its future. Some pronouncements have been made about Wales, and the expectation is that Wales's operations, insofar as factory operations, will combine with IFLOT's. So I don't believe that there will be much displacement of senior staff. The question becomes now what to do with the lands and the laborers. So government is looking at, as I said, several options. Cato School, the Minister of Public Infrastructure is, I know, in active discussions with the Minister of Legal Affairs and Honorable Attorney General about do we allow the company that presided over the bad workmanship, if I can put it that way, to be compelled to go and fix it, or do we surcharge them by way of taking them to court and getting damages and having someone else do it? Does the government itself find monies to repair the school? I think ultimately the well-being and welfare of children and their right to an education must be paramount. So I believe that the Minister of Public Infrastructure is going to be finding ways to do some repairs to the building so that it can be safely and efficiently occupied by the students, because there are issues not just about crumbling walls, but even about the flow of air in the building. And I think the issue of who will pay for it will be pursued by the Honorable Attorney General. So I can report on that. And the last one being High Street. Again, the High Street building continues to stand out as a sore, an embarrassment to past administration, because some costs there are over $700 million, and it is no closer to being effectively occupied. Studies show that even if you put tiles on the first floor, the floor is likely to crumble because the support beams were not present. Both the Guyana Forestry Commission and the GGMC together put over $400 million with an expectation that they may be able to occupy it. But as I said, when structural surveys were done, it showed that the very minimum of persons as well as furniture would have to be put in if it is to be used. I know that the Ministry of Social Protection is looking at it again, and the Ministry of Public Infrastructure is examining ways as to how it could be occupied without it being a danger to life and limb.
Quick follow-up. Quick follow-up, sir, about the contractor that did the Cato School. We notice he's still tendering for contracts and all of this. Wasn't there a decision of blacklisting certain errant contractors?
Well, in a democracy, you have the right to tender. Whether you get it is a different matter. I'm not aware that the contractor, certainly government contracts, I don't believe that the contractor has received. But in a free society, an open society, we can't stop persons from trying. But certainly right now, the mode of government is that we will not support. We will not support this contractor until there's been some purging of the bad work and some contrition, perhaps. I know blame has been shared about who demanded the work proceed as it did, but government is not of the mood now, or has no desire to see this particular contractor get work, particularly when it involves children's safety, buildings where children will be in. It's not my intention to defame anyone, but I think the facts speak for themselves. Some reporters were able to travel to the site and to see. So hearing is one thing and seeing is another. And I think we can all accept that the work there was beyond shoddy. It was terrible. And this contractor should in fact do the honorable thing of perhaps withdrawing the company from bidding while it perhaps try to bring itself into compliance both with the law and in terms of its own techniques for building.
Of course, if you're now joining us, what you've missed there is the second half of Facing the Nation today that focused on the government's post-cabinet press briefing that was held yesterday. That would have been Thursday, the 17th of November, 2016, of course, at the Ministry of the Presidency. I know you have become used to seeing the post-cabinet press briefings hosted by the Minister of State, the Honorable Joseph Harmon, but he is out of the jurisdiction attending to government's business. He's expected to return in the new week. So that press conference yesterday was hosted by the Minister of Natural Resources, the Honorable Raphael Trotman. Of course, you know before there was the cabinet reshuffle early in the year, he would have been the Minister of Governance. So now he has assumed the Minister of Natural Resources. Well, not now, but months ago. That's just to clarify what's happening. So Minister Harmon is expected to return next week with the post-cabinet press briefing. Unfortunately, that has brought us to almost the end of our program. I just want to remind you that we're still in National Road Safety Month. It does not mean that you will only be safe during this month, but you'll try to be as safe as you possibly can throughout after the month and after that, and because the idea is to make and to keep our roads very, very safe and to reduce the number of traffic accidents. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate Ms. Ramona Durjan. She's the coordinator of the National Road Safety Council Guyana. She has been successful. Of course, it's a coordinated effort, but it's her, I like to call it her baby. She's very modest and very humble too, so she will not necessarily say that. But the White Knight campaign that has seen some success at the first showing of it, has seen some success. I was made to understand that persons who were driving under the influence they were charged actually, and they have managed to, in a sense, ease it a bit, but still lots more work to be done. So I want to say congratulations to her and her entire team. Just to give you some more dates, I did remind you that for now, our schedule is that the last airing for Facing the Nation for this year would be on the 16th of December, and we will return in January. But I'll just try to give you these dates as we go along every week. So by the time we get down there to that, when you turn on your television on Friday midday and you're not seeing me, you will understand that we will be on it would be about 3 weeks, a 3 weeks break. But for now, we're still going along with the program. Of course, next week, I promise to have another informative program for you. I'm not going to tell you as yet who are the members who are going to be here. There are some guests who are going to be here. And remember, I also promised you, because we're heading closer to the Christmas season, we're going to try to keep things as light as we possibly can. But for now, for this week, this is all the time I have with you. Once again, congratulations to Eddie Neblett, who, for those of you who tuned in earlier, saw in the first half of the program, I had that conversation with gospel sensation, local gospel sensation, who's currently overseas based. I had that conversation with him. So again, congratulations to him. These are the things that make us proud, very proud, to call ourselves Guyanese. This has been Facing the Nation. I am Malika Ramsey. Be good Guyanese citizens. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and of course, join me again next week. Goodbye.